I think the biggest thing that mothers need today is permission. Permission to take care of herself, because I believe that there's a guilt, or, people will say to me, "Oh, how often do you work out?" And um not taking care of myself, not working out, not putting nourishing food in my body, not sitting every morning and every evening in this grounding is selfish, in my opinion.
Hi, Amanda. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so I'm really thrilled to introduce you to the listeners of Well Just a Mama so that women listening that are planning on getting pregnant, are pregnant, have recently given birth, can really, or even beyond that, can really feel inspired and empowered about the work you do around conscious motherhood. So I'd love for you to just share a little bit about your story and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, I'd love to. I always feel a little bit overwhelmed when I'm asked where to start, because there's so much to unload. So I try and do it as with as much clarity as I can. So I am a mama to 7 home birth babies.
Wow.
And really, I loved being a mother the minute I became one. I mean, maybe before that, right? Because that desire is there for this child. So for a really long time, I did what all of the moms were doing. So I call it the mom grind. And it is the constant bussing around. When they're little, you bring them to libraries and parks and museums and to see friends, and you're just constantly on the go. And then as they get older, they find activities, and then they become really immersed in these activities and maybe even really good at them. And it turns into competitive activities, and then it's kind of downhill from there. Um sorry about the noise here. I don't know what's going on. Um, so really how it began for me is I had this vision of how I wanted to be with my family. My children are homeschooled. That was very intentional because I felt like we just had this life to live together and I wanted to be in it completely with them. But then we started the activities, and life just became too busy. It was the traveling for the competitions. It was practice every night until 9 o'clock, never having a family dinner together. And it didn't feel good. It was exciting at the beginning, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be for my family. It felt very disconnected. And really how it all began is in that feeling of disconnection and feeling like there was just something more than I was living. I was in Colorado. Actually, one of my boys was at the Olympic Training Center. I dropped him off at the gym and I went into the mountains of Colorado by myself. And I I just remembered who I was and what I love to do, and that I love to be outside and I love to hike. And what had I been doing all of these years? It was a very conscious moment into realizing where I was and a decision that I was going to live something better. So, yeah,
Where were
like
you
I
living
said,
at the time? In Colorado or somewhere else?
no, we were living in the Midwest at the time. We were there because we had chose to be years earlier, but we've moved around a lot. So we've lived in Oregon and Florida, and at this point we were in Ohio. And again, our decision to move there was a very conscious decision. We had 9 acres of land and we wanted to homestead and raise animals. And it was perfect because my oldest was only 9 years old at the time. But as we started to approach teenagehood And well, I still hadn't had my last baby when we moved to Ohio, but shortly after I had her on that trip to Colorado, well, I shouldn't say shortly after, it was a few years, 4 years. But it was the first time I had left and I didn't have a nursing baby. And I felt a freedom that I had not felt since before having children. And it was just this bright light in my eyes. Like, what are you doing in Ohio? Like, you have life to live. There is adventure for you out here and for my children too, who are all very much like me, which is athletic and health conscious and always just wanting to be outside and connected to nature. So now I'm in Hawaii, and that is, that's also part of the story, is how that came to be. um, we thought we were going to Colorado, and then there were bigger plans for us. And my husband called me one day and just said, "How do you feel about moving to Hawaii?" And my reaction was, "Sign us up. Just, whatever you got to do." And my sister was already here, though. So that's a huge part of it as
Oh,
well. My sister
yeah.
has 10 children, and
Wow.
they live very similar to how we do. I mean, a very similar lifestyle. So her children are homeschooled as well. And we're best friends. And we've never had the opportunity to live together as adults, as mothers. So Hawaii came into my life. And when Hawaii came in, it took a really, the energy on the islands is like nothing else. So if you have never been here, if you haven't visited, I can't put into words what the energy is here, but it is otherworldly. And it didn't take too long for it to find for it to find me. A lot came in really quick. And I realized at that point I had a lot more soul work that I needed to do. Um,
Mm,
so actually, to kind of rewind a little bit, when I had gone to Colorado on that trip and I had that moment of life had something better for me, it really pushed me into this spiritual life that really I had been asking for my entire adult life. I didn't know
mm.
what it was. It didn't have a name, but I knew that I was so deeply connected somehow. And so it all kind of came in, and I did a lot of work at that time, a lot of spiritual work. And when I came to Hawaii, I continued this spiritual work on a completely different level that was so deep. And what I found is that I was coming full circle in that my soul was here to show women how to live the life they always dreamed of. That motherhood was not an excuse for not having time, for not nourishing, for not taking the trip they feel like they need to the chiropractor, to the joy that they deserve to live. And we
Yeah.
have too many excuses.
It's hard work being a mom, especially when they're little and especially when you have a lot of them. I have one child, so I'm in amazement that you have 7, your sister has 10. There's all these little beings just asking for your energy, right? And just like, I need more of mommy. I need more of mommy. So it's a hard place to really put yourself first, practice that mama self care, and say, I got to fill my cup first so I can have so much to give to all these other little people."
I think the biggest thing that mothers need today is permission, right? It's permission to take care of herself, because I believe that there's a guilt, or, people will say to me, "Oh, what do you do for a workout? And how often do you work out?" And um, not taking care of myself, not working out, not putting nourishing food in my body, not sitting every morning and every evening in this grounding is selfish, in my opinion. It's selfish because My capacity is so small when I do not give myself those things. And I don't think women are doing it. Women are, again, doing this mom grind where they jump out of bed with an alarm to wake the kids, to get to school, then to get to the activities, and maybe a hot dinner. But the issue to me isn't that women don't want to be around their children, because for a long time from the beginning of motherhood, I could just remember standing at the park. And the narrative that I have heard in my 18 years of motherhood is, oh, I can't wait for summer break to end, to get them back into school, to get them out of the house. And even on summer break, kids are still, at least here, able to sign up for weeks of summer school and every camp under the sun. And those children are going. And they're going because the moms don't know how to mother 24/7 for even a few months out of the year. And I believe that is because she has no capacity. She has not developed a capacity within herself, mentally, emotionally, to be able to handle the children the way she wants. But it's she's blind to it. It's not even that she knows it's something to do or that's something there.
Right. So I'm curious about that deeper spiritual work that you were mentioning. Like, what did that look like for you?
First and foremost is being comfortable, being still, and being in quiet. And that is really hard. It is hard when you have chatter around you all of the time. It's hard to set boundaries for yourself, to give yourself that time. So for me, stillness begins every morning, and I go outside and I just I sit in silence. I'll just continue with a meditation, some affirmation, lots of prayer, but it's my time to ground into my own energy, to really feel what I'm feeling inside. How am I feeling today? And I think that's a really important question, because it's okay to wake up and not feel great, right? I mean, we do a lot of the time. We feel maybe frazzled or stressed about what's ever going on. But when you're able to witness and be aware that you're feeling that way, I think that, again, extends your capacity to be a responsive parent versus a reactive one. And when I'm outside in the morning, my children are well aware, do not come outside. That is
Mhm.
my space. It is my time, and it is a boundary I'm very firm with. And no one does. No one bothers me. They find something to do, whatever it is. So practicing stillness is the beginning to reconnecting with your soul's purpose, reconnecting into nature. And this is the first step in what I'm offering. So it's a self paced course, which begins with grounding back into nature, back into this body, and just sitting in still, because a lot will come in, we will remember who we are, what our souls are here to do, if we can sit in quiet.
And are you doing that for 20 minutes?
I I mean, so my suggestion is to start very small, 5 minutes, sit in stillness, maybe even start a timer. And there are some great apps out there. I love Insight Timer, because you can, be led into paying attention to your breath and breathing. And it's 10 minutes. So you know that you've done 10 minutes of breathing. So there's really, in 2026, there's some great resources out there to get you started. But I always suggest starting small, five
Yeah.
minutes and then 10 minutes. And it may take somebody weeks upon weeks upon weeks to just find comfort in 10 minutes of still. So that is how I am suggesting that part be brought in. It's the most important part of it all, because once
Mhm.
you can find still, then you are end awareness, right? Then it infiltrates the rest of your life. It infiltrates your family. It infiltrates the driver who cut you off on the road. It infiltrates the cashier who was maybe snappy and unfriendly. You're just grounded and you feel at a peace with yourself. So
Mhm.
that spiritual piece is definitely the foundation of everything that I am trying to return mothers to. And I wish, clearly it wasn't meant to be for me, but I wish that I knew what I know now 18 years ago, because I would have parented much differently.
Right. Well, it's so interesting. I mean, you had 7 home births and your homeschooling. So clearly there was already an awareness about how what type of lifestyle you were choosing to live. And even despite that, you felt like you were getting caught up in the mom grind, right?
Mm-hmm,
Which is so
mm-hmm.
interesting to me because I definitely hear that mom grind, but I'm also hearing it from a lot of moms that have a different type of lifestyle, right? So it's just an awareness that we all can get sucked up into it, right? It's just so culturally part of who we are. Like we have to be busy to be productive, right?
Exactly. Busy is great. Everybody's so busy. Busy, busy, busy. Um, I think I think here's what I think about the different lifestyles and finding that mom grind is we want to give our kids everything. We want to give them every experience, every opportunity. We want them to be social and we want them to have friends. And so I believe that we enter these activities unknowingly, like almost like in an ignorance. Like we don't really understand what it's going to unravel. And new moms that I come in contact with now, my first words of advice are just be a family. Just, lay off the activities. Not in those words exactly. I mean, certainly more gentle than that. But the message is lay off the activities because they're going to unravel in a way that you see your child love something. So you just keep saying yes and yes and yes. And before you know it, you're traveling the entire country and you're not home either. And the family is disconnected. But really, in a more simple way with lifestyle, most kids are going to school and they are being pushed into school as early as 3 years old, right? Preschool, 3 years old. Some
Mhm.
some infants are leaving the house before that, depending on what mom's schedule is. But mom if new mom cannot find community for her and her baby, she will go to the workplace
Mhm.
because she is not being supported. She doesn't have friends. And it's hard. It's really hard. It is not easy to be a new mom, a mom in general. We need support. And of course, we know there used to be villages, but right now women will put baby in daycare to go find her village, which is now in the workplace. And then because she's in the workplace, the baby will continue down the path of school. So that child is going to be gone all day. And that's life right now. Life is adults are at work and children are at school, and then children have activities and they get home late at night and there really is no family connection. And it sounds very dramatic, but I mean it when I say it that I believe the family unit is broken.
Wow. So tell me about what homeschooling 7 kids looks like.
I think a really great way to put out homeschooling is it can look so many ways. So years ago, my children sat at a table and I had a chalkboard. And really, I stood in front of them like a teacher, and we did spelling and just everything. It was very formal. Of course, I had infants running across our 10-foot long table while we did school. It was very chaotic, but we did it and it was great. And then I became a little more relaxed because I felt like I was making them do things they really didn't want to do, but also didn't serve them long term. For example, history. Is history important? Sure, history is important. My husband is a history buff. We have tons of history books around the house. We had lots of access to museums. So things like history I nixed because it just didn't feel worth everybody's hair pulling and really all that valuable to them in the end. Now homeschool looks like what I call earth school. And by that, we are obviously living on the most gorgeous island and outside all the time. So they are learning lots of lessons in the ocean. They are all surfers and bodyboarders and out there in these waves that you wouldn't believe. And they're learning a lot out there. They're learning about their connection to her, to the ocean, and to the other surfers around them, and making relationships. And so they that's what homeschool looks like right now. Come the fall, they will have some more formal reading, writing, math that they need to buckle down and do. But right now we're a little bit relaxed because it is summertime. But the biggest takeaway is I'm always being asked what we do for homeschool. So that's why I started answering the way I did. It can look however you feel good about. So there's lots of co-op groups, and these homeschool co-ops are all over the country. You can do co-ops. Facebook has, I'm sure, a plethora of opportunities for people to join. So homeschooling is whatever you want it to look like, but at least I feel like my children are wild and free and can run. And to me, that's what's most important.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's interesting because they're obviously all different ages, they're at different levels, right? But you're still able to teach to their level. And do they also maybe teach each other as well?
The older ones will help with the younger ones, and that's great too because it took a really long time until I had that kind of help. But yeah, it's like, I'll work with your sister on her reading or whatever it is. But, and again, there are curriculums out there that will encompass years at a time. So, for example, I have two boys that are 17 months apart, right? So one would be ninth grade, one would be 10th grade. And this curriculum is, say, grades 9 to 11. And that would be really easy for me to use because I can get them both done at the same time. And the ninth grader is always way ahead. So they're kind of going through, I would say the 10th grader is where he needs to be, but the ninth grader is ahead.
Mm.
And there's so much out there. There really is. And I wish the most common response I hear, actually, I had a woman approach me on the beach the other day, and she took notice of the kids and I think was just interested and said, "Oh, do you homeschool?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, I just can't. I can't be his teacher." And he has, the teachers have diagnosed him with ADHD, or whoever diagnoses ADHD in a school these days. But that's also a very common narrative for boys in schools is they have ADHD. Well, I'm not there and I'm certainly not the judge, but I remember sitting in a classroom day in and day out, not loving school and wishing I could be outside. And I didn't sit still well either. So I think there is also a lot of ADHD diagnosis out there where we just have souls that don't want to sit in a chair for 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
yeah, I wish that that we weren't so fearful when it comes to our children, whether that is with health issue, anything health with their health, like, even fevers popping up. I mean, parents are so scared they're doing it wrong, and nobody has a book to it. You can only just, in my opinion, do your due diligence, which is not listening to the first person that tells you something, right? Like, kind of like look into it yourself.
Do some
Um,
research.
exactly. Do the research. And so with homeschool, of course, there's this fear there that the children are going to be left behind or they're not going to be where they need to be to go do whatever is next. And again, I think that's a fear. And, really the same with health too, which I also bring mothers into in what I offer at some point. It's this holistic living, how, we're going to take care of our body, our mind. Well, we're going to take care of our spiritual, emotional, mental health first. We're going to take that awareness and we're going to shift it into the people around us, the people we love. So, what do I want school to look like for my children? Do I want them to go to school? Do I want them home? But again, once that spiritual mental capacity is there, it's amazing what it will unfold, what you feel that you are able to do. And then the last piece is the holistic physical body. So really embodiment, pay attention. I'm not for diets. I think eliminating any one food group is terrible unless you have an allergy to it. I think a little bit is great. And I even say we eat really healthy, but we have 9 birthdays a year. There's lots of cake here, and cookies, but pay attention to how you feel and just live life. So have a slice of cake, don't eat 3 slices of cake. But while you're eating, right, while you're eating emotionally and physically, what are you feeling? And 30 minutes later, what are you feeling? What's going on physically and emotionally for you after eating that piece of cake? And I think if we would all just pay attention to, like, all right, I'm glad I didn't eat a bigger piece of cake because that sugar, I can really feel what that sugar is doing inside of me. We would naturally make good decisions in regards to our health.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. So it's interesting. I always put the physical body as the foundation to be able to do the mental, emotional, and spiritual work. And it sounds like you have it reversed.
I do. I do. That is so cool, though. Just, in talking to you, that you begin with the physical and then go into the mental. Okay,
And
let me give
emotional and
you.
spiritual. They're all important.
They are all important. I find that if you can lay a foundation of spiritual, emotional, mental health, again, and I guess I'm reiterating from what I just said, but it is amazing the capacity that you will have for life. So not even just the people around you, but when you're connected to nature, when you're connected to whatever higher power that is for you, what doors will open and what you will want to do, right? Because we were all born of the same earth, of the same whatever it is that you like to relate to. And so I think when you can ground spiritually, that will, right? Because you have to have a trust. You have to have, we just talked about fear in making health decisions and maybe even homeschooling or whatever it is. And there is so much fear wrapped in healthcare, right?
Mm,
In
right.
prenatal care, in birth, in postpartum, it is chocked full of fear and it is heartbreaking. And I believe that if we can lay the foundation of spirituality and emotional and mental well-being, that that trust in what we are here to do and what we are being brought will also roll into the physical. So I'm not really sure if I explain that too well, but you have to have, you love the body you're in because that's the body
Yes.
you are right, like, and
Right.
because you're now developing that connection with the earth and with this body that you're in, you want to take care of this body, you understand it now. There are women, so I'm working on the physical only for women who feel that they've done this spiritual work. But there's something
Oh,
really
okay.
important there, and that is trauma, because there are a lot of reasons that women may not choose to exercise, and they're not all around making excuses of time. There are some real deep lying traumatic issues that need to be figured out first. So taking that into consideration, and I am not raising my hand to be the person she comes to with the trauma. There are people out there who are trained, right, to work with women who have experienced trauma, but it is something to consider because I don't think it's black and white as
Yeah.
far as the physical component is concerned. But
Right.
yeah. So I believe once that foundation is in peace, that first piece, and then that awareness is there, that that will allow you to move into the physical component a little bit more freely. Because I'm an advocate for natural movement. I don't believe in setting anybody up into a regimen that they hate. It's all about enjoying what you're doing and being in joy. So maybe for some people, it really is just walking. Maybe for some people, they discover something they never knew they loved and they get into jujitsu or yoga or kickboxing, right? It's all about just letting it unfold and you following what's in your heart. Your heart's desires is your soul, is where you're trying to be led. So that's kind of the, I guess, maybe longer answer into why I begin with the spiritual emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
So
make sense?
Amanda,
Or
it does. I find like for me, if somebody's coming into my office in a lot of pain, it's
Mhm.
hard to meditate. It's hard to be mindful. It's hard to do anything else because they're so in their pain. Do you know what I mean? And so when we remove the pain and we support that innate intelligence of the body, then making these healthier lifestyle choices for their mental, emotional, and spiritual health will come from that.
Yeah, I could see how that pain would hinder meditation, obviously. I believe that our physical pain is very symptomatic of emotion.
Yeah, it is.
So
But it's still hard to do that emotional work, right? Like, in other words, you have to get out of pain to be able to do that deeper work of why the pain was there in the first place.
yeah, I agree with that. And I think that, what you do and anyone who can relieve anybody of pain, and you're doing essential work. So I certainly agree. It's like, can we, take away the symptoms? Can we take away the pain long enough, or in conjunction with
Yeah.
this emotional, but that is such, it's such hard work. And I don't think that our physical pain being rooted in our emotions is a topic that most are well versed in. I think that that is very foreign to I would say
Yeah, I think people
everybody.
do try to
It's
separate it, right? But you
yeah.
can't, they're very closely linked. So Amanda, we have to wrap up this call, but I just wanted you to share last thoughts and how women can get in touch with you if they want to work with you.
I am not on social media, and that is very intentional. My website is called Wild Uhane, which is the way to get a hold of me, which is wild and then UHANE.com.
Hmm.
I do, I have, you can just sign up for a free newsletter on there. I put out a dinner menu every Sunday, which is my dinner menu. It's just a little tidbit that I feel like I can share and help busy moms. You can read everything I'm about on there. I did just author a children's book based on manifestation that is on there as well. And really my passion, my life's mission is to bring women back to joy in a way that is not it is so deep that it it affects the world, and in a way that she cares about the world too and can teach her children to care about the world. And yeah, I have lots of visions, and I'm just, this is what I'm here to do, and would love to connect with anybody who's interested. If you're interested and it piques your interest, it's usually a sign that it might be a direction, something to look into. So thank you for having me here. And yeah, it's been so great speaking with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Definitely make sure to check out Amanda's website at wilduhane.com. That's WILDUHANE.com. Additionally, if you need extra support and guidance with your own personal health journey, I'm here to help. As an IFM trained functional medicine practitioner with over 20 years of experience, I'm now offering virtual functional medicine consultations, specializing in preconception, fertility, and women's health. Please go to my website at drlaurabrayton.com and click Become a Patient to schedule a complimentary 15-minute discovery call with me to see if my program is the right fit for you. Also, if you love this show, please leave us a review. Go to ratethispodcast.com/well-adjusted mama and follow the simple instructions.